Hello, I'm Chef Christopher Ketke from Chicago in the USA, and I want to thank you for watching these set of videos on how to prepare and cook duck like an expert. What I'd like to show you how to make right now is a sauteed duck breast. And there's a technique for actually cooking the duck breast so that the meat cooks perfectly and the skin is crispy and shrinks down beautifully. So the first step in this is we have a boneless duck breast. And what I'd like to do with this is, first of all, just trim away any of the excess skin from around the duck breast. That's step number one. Step number two is to trim any of the membranes that are left on the inside of the duck breast, or perhaps there's a little bit of cartilage, like the cartilage I just trimmed away there. You can see there's always a little bit of membrane right here. And I'm going to remove the membrane, trying to cut as little of the actual meat as possible. That is perfect. Now I'm going to take the duck breast, I'm going to turn it over, and I'm just going to score the skin very lightly. And the way we do that is a very sharp knife, and I'm barely touching the skin with the knife. I'm cutting with absolutely no tension in my hand at all, so that I don't cut through the skin, but just cut into the skin. Now for the magic of how we cook a duck breast. To saute it, the normal saute process is a hot saute pan, a little bit of oil, and you put the meat in it, and it browns and sizzles. And that is exactly what we are not going to do with a duck breast. In fact, with a duck breast, we break all the rules. We're going to start with the duck breast, skin side down into the pan, and the pan is cold, and there's no oil in it at all. And now what we're going to do is put it onto the stove, very low heat, and we're just going to let that cook and render out the fat for almost 25 minutes, and then we'll come back and see how to finish the duck breast. Let's take a look at how our duck breast is doing here after about 10 or 12 minutes of cooking. And you can see that the duck breast is still pretty much uncolored, a little bit of coloration here on the sides, but basically it's still white. And if you look inside the pan, there's a fair amount of fat in the pan. What's interesting about that is, remember, we started with a cold pan and absolutely no fat in there whatsoever. So this is perfect. It's low heat, and it's rendering out all the fat from the skin, and we're just going to keep cooking it. So now our duck breast has been cooking for well over 20 minutes, again on very low heat. Let's see what's happening. The skin now is starting to get beautifully brown, and what's really interesting about this, if you look from the side, you can see that the skin now is very thin, and the breast meat itself is very plump. That's exactly what we want to see on a perfectly cooked duck breast. Lots of meat and that nice little coating of crispy skin. Now, what we have to do to finish the cooking, at this point, we break all the rules of sauteing. We started low and slow, and now I'm turning up the heat, and I'm going to brown the other side, brown the skin very, very well. Once that's done, I'm going to turn the duck over, and it only takes about 2 or 3 more minutes to cook the duck breast, because while it looks completely raw, actually, for the last 20 or so minutes, it's been cooking slowly from the bottom up. So if you were to cut the duck breast in half right now, you'd notice that it's largely cooked except for right here. So we'll flip it over, cook it for a few minutes, and then let it rest. After a couple minutes on high heat, let's turn the duck over now, and let's just take a look at this beautiful, beautiful skin. Now that is a perfectly cooked duck breast. I'm going to flip it over, cook it just for a couple minutes, and it's ready to go. Something I learned very early in my career was how to slice a duck breast. And I see in a lot of restaurants that chefs tend to cut it in kind of big, thick pieces. But for me, there's only one way to slice a duck breast. Now, this duck breast, we've sauteed it very slowly and rendered out the fat, skin side down. Then we turned up the heat and browned it. On the skin side, it's really crunchy and beautiful. Browned it on the other side, let it rest, and now it's time to slice it. Now, the slicing process, again, should be nice and thin slices, because when we slice duck breast perfectly thin, like I'm doing right now, when you put it into your mouth, it just literally melts away and is so delicious. So, for the chefs who are watching, and for people at home as well, when you cook duck breast, take the time to slice the duck breast as thinly as you possibly can slice it, because it'll taste absolutely great. And the other thing, on the plate, it looks so beautiful and substantial. Now, to serve it, if you noticed, right now it's skin side down. I want to see the skin, so I'm going to slide my knife underneath. So now I'm going to take the duck, flip it over, just like so. Perfect. Pick it up, slide it right over on top of, in this case, I have some couscous. Now, this is a gorgeous presentation, but I just want to show you what the proper doneness of the duck should be. So I'm going to pull one slice out of the middle, and you can see it's beautifully a medium texture, medium temperature. Slightly pink in the middle, not really rare, but just super juicy and medium. And that is absolutely perfect.